Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you all for joining us during this special session this evening. Before we begin, let us start with the recitation of the Holy Quran. If I can have our young brother Ali Sultan, please, you can begin when you're ready. Thank you.
أعوذ السلام عليكم.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
عليكم السلام.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم صيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودة فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم شهر فلا صيام ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر تكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم لعلكم تشكرون وإذا سألكم لك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان فلا يستجيبوا لي ولا يؤمنوا بي لعلكم يرشدون صدق الله العلي العظيم. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you, as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may guard against evil. For a certain number of days, but whoever among you is sick or on a journey, then he shall fast, like a number of other days. And those who are not able to do it may affect a redemption by feeding a poor man. So whoever does spontaneously it is better for him, and that you fast is better for you if you know. The month of Ramadan is that in which the Quran was revealed, a guidance to men and clear proofs, and the guidance and the distinction. Therefore, whoever of you is present in the month, he shall fast therein. And whoever is sick or upon a journey, then he shall fast a like number of other days. Allah desires ease for you. He does not desire for your difficulty. He desires that you should complete the number and that you should exalt and greatness of Allah for his having guided you, and that you may give thanks. Salawat.
اللهم صل على
Allahumma salli
محمد.
ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Thank you, Ali, for the wonderful recitation. It's been a while since I've been a part of this Zoom session. It sort of reminds me of the COVID days that we had a while back. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank our guest, Maulana Hayder Shirazi from BC. For those of you who have been attending our program the last couple of months, Maulana, it's been a pleasure to see you in person. But also, and I also wanted to thank you for initiating this during his last visit. Maulana had mentioned that we should probably do something, have a session on the Ahkaam of Ramadan. And fortunately, we were able to work this out last minute. And also wanted to thank everybody who's attending the session this evening. And once again, thank you, Maulana, for making yourself available for this evening. And just a brief layout of the next 90 minutes or so. Maulana Sahib is going to speak for the next 40 to 50 minutes with a few things he would like to share with the community. And for those of you attending from outside. And that will be followed with a question answer session. We'd like to, inshallah, conclude by about 8 p.m. or so, Winnipeg time. With that, I would like Maulana to please go ahead. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We all ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to accept us all in His service and to bless us all health and long life so that we can benefit and witness the sacred month of Ramadan. And it is the month of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. The ayat that Brother Ali recited are the ayat that talk about the sacred month of Ramadan, and all of the ahkam that we will be talking have been mentioned in these two ayat. The entire observance or all of the ahkam, you can find them in these two ayat. And it is ayah number 183 and 84 and 85 from Surah Al-Baqarah. Starts with Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. O you who believe, fasting has been written upon you, has been prescribed to you as it was prescribed to the nations before you. And لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, and the reason why Allah has made this fast obligatory upon you, it's so that you can be God-wary, you can get closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, so that you also can become pious. The entire journey in the spiritual journey that we have, that is as a result of worshipping the Almighty Allah, you will get closer to Him, you will be muttaqi, you will be God-wary. And then he says, Ayyaman ma'dudat. Ayyaman ma'dudat means they are the known days, a designated set of days, and whosoever is sick or ill in these days, then he makes up the fasts later, or someone who is traveling, أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر. So here clearly shows that who can fast, who cannot fast. So people who are ill and ailing, they don't fast. People who are traveling, they don't fast. وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةُ طَعَامٍ. Those of you who are incapable, unable to fast. So unable to fast, those people, فَفِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ miskin. So they give a fidya. Fidya, it's a small amount as sadaqah or a penalty for not being able to. It's not a penalty. It's a token to get the fasts waived. So, someone who is elderly, or someone who is pregnant, or someone who is breastfeeding a baby, those people they don't fast, but they waive the fast by paying a little penalty, which is in today's dollar amount, $3 per fast. So they just get the fast waived from them, and then they make up for the fast later. فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. Then Allah the Almighty He says that, and that you fast, you observe these fasts, and fasting it is good for you. خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون, if you knew. Then continues in the next ayah, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Now it's talking about the spiritual dimensions of this sacred month. It is the month in which Quran was revealed. Now, if you look into the adab and the etiquette, how the Almighty Allah talks about the sacred month, never. Now, Ramadan is the name of Allah, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Now, if you look into our communities, the Urdu speaking or the Farsi speaking, or how they address the month, you don't say Ramazan Aya, ya Ramazan Umade. You don't say Ramazan, it's Ramadan. No, you don't say that. It is forbidden to address the month on its own, because Ramadan, it's the name of Allah, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And the name of Allah you exalt and you mention with respect and with high dignity. The Almighty teaches us this in this Quran as well. Says Shahru Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. It is in which Quran was revealed. So if you want to say, you say the holy month, or the blessed month, or Ramadan al Mubarak, or the month of Allah, Mah Mubarak. And these are the terms and the words you will be addressing the holy month with. So it is the month in which Quran is revealed. Now what is Quran? Hudan linnas, a guidance for the mankind. وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِنَ الْهُدَى وَالْفُرْقَانِ. Now again, concludes and says that whosoever witnesses the month he fasts, someone who is ill and ailing or is traveling, he doesn't fast, etc. until the end of the hour. The Almighty, He then says that Yuridullah bikumul yusr. Allah wants ease for you. Wala yuridu bikumul usr. He doesn't want things to be made difficult upon you. And it is all for your guidance that He has made these rules for you, for your own betterment, for your own benefit. Now, these are the rules of the holy month of Ramadan, very briefly mentioned in this beautiful ayah. Now, before we come to the rules of this month, which are not so many, and just if we have them properly placed in our mind, then everything is going to be simple and easy. Now, the importance of this sacred month of Ramadan is that there is a khutbah, a sermon that was delivered by Rasulullah prior to the sacred month, prior to the arrival of this month. And Imam Rida alayhi salam, he quotes it from his fathers, his ancestors, from Amir al-Mu'mineen, from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. There he says that on one of these days, may have been Friday in the khutbah, that the Prophet, he delivers a sermon. And there says, Ayyuhan nas, O people, innahu qad aqbala ilaykum shahrullah. That is, a month has fast approached you, and a month that has come with barakah, with rahmah, with maghfirah. So all these are the beauties that you see in the month. There is mercy in it, there is barakah in it, there is forgiveness in it. And it is a month which is the best of months before the Almighty Allah. The days of this month, they are special. The nights of this month, they are special. Every hour of this month is special. Every moment of this month is special. And then he says that it is a month in which you have been invited to a feast. And the host of this feast is the Almighty Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And then he says that in this month, جعلتم فيه من أهل كرامة الله. Karamatillah means most dignified or most generous. Kareem, it's one of those terms that is used in Quran and in Ziyarat Jamiat al-Kabira that says that Kareem, they are the Imams. Quran says Kareem are the angels. Here in this khutbah, the Prophet he says, Allah is hosting the month. You are the guests of God, Dhuyufur Rahman, and when He has invited you, and you have such been glorified and exalted to this rank, He has made you among the Kareem, that is, like the Imams who are Kareem, like the angels who are Kareem, you also have been exalted to this Karama, to this rank in this sacred month of Ramadan. And then the Prophet he says that your breathing in this month, it is tasbih. Now, if you want to laud and praise the Almighty, you recite some kind of a recital. You recite tasbihat arba'a. You say Subhanallah, you praise the Almighty. Here in this month says because the month is such special, your breathing is counted as tasbih. You don't say anything. Just breathing in the month, benefiting from the month will be tasbih. Now, many people they called, even yesterday, even today, there were some phone calls. They were saying that I am old, I am elderly, I am sick, I am traveling, I cannot fast, so I will not be benefiting from the month. This mindset is wrong. The month is Mubarak. The host is the Almighty Allah. Fasting is one side of it, one dimension of it. Just benefiting the sacred month, you will be rewarded. If you were able to fast, a much more reward. If you were able to provide iftar, another reward. And likewise, if you were able to recite the Holy Quran, a further reward. So, as much as you can do, as much as you can provide in the sacred month, you will be rewarded for everything that you do. Du'as in this sacred month. Du'as in this sacred month, they are accepted, they are granted. Whatever you ask the Almighty in this month, it will be given to you. And then the Prophet, he says that sincerely, yeah, the Prophet, he says that sincerely, you ask Allah biniyatin sadiqatin, with pure intentions, that He accepts you in this sacred month. Now, Allah, He gives us the opportunity to observe the fasts and to recite Quran. The two things that Rasulullah asks, that you ask the Almighty, one is to be accepted, and secondly, to be able to recite Quran. So, Tilawatul Quran is the agenda of this sacred month. Now, Tilawat also, over here, the best Tilawat, the best recitation that you can do is holding the printed version of the Quran in your hands. So, when you hold the printed version, means you have to be in wuzu. When you are holding the Quran, your hands that are holding the divine book will be rewarded. Your eyes that are looking at that printed script, they will be rewarded, because Imam Riza alayhi salam, he says that A'til ayna haqqaha. You give the right of the eye to the eye. This reporter, he says, I asked the Imam, what is the right of the eye? Imam says, An-nadaru ilal mushaf. Looking at the Quran is the right of the eye that you have to give to the eye. So hold the Quran printed version, then look at the ayat of Quran and then recite. So that is the most rewarding way of getting sawab. And then when you do that, shaitan is in flares, is furious, and he will be he will flee away, he will run away from you because of that attitude and that act of yours. That is, you are reciting the divine book of the Almighty Allah. The other thing the Prophet he mentions over here is that shaqi means someone who is yeah, shaqi is someone who is wretched. It's someone who is away from the forgiveness of Allah. So a month of forgiveness has come to you. And if you don't get yourself forgiven in this sacred month, that is that most unfortunate person who doesn't get himself forgiven. Now, here the Prophet he says that when this hunger and thirst that you will see in this sacred month, with that hunger and thirst, you get reminded of the hunger and thirst of the day of judgment. You honor your elders, you have mercy on your youngsters, you make ties with your family, do not break ties with them, and then you control your tongues and all of your actions be under severe surveillance that you control them. And وَتُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنْ ذُنُوبِكُمْ says that you repent to the Almighty Allah for all the wrong that you have done. And then وَارْفَعُوا إِلَيْهِ أَيْدِيكُمْ بِالدُّعَاءِ فِي أَوْقَاتِ صَلَاتِكُمْ you raise your hands and at times of prayers and you ask the Almighty for whatever you want. Why? Because it is the best of times, the best of hours. And Allah wa ta'ala, He looks at you with immense mercy. He is merciful, He is Rahman, He is Rahim. Now there's another bonus over here. It is the month of Ramadan. So in the month of Ramadan, everyone benefits. The faithful, the faithless, the deceased, those who are alive, those who have passed away, those who are ill, those who can fast, those who cannot fast, everyone benefits in this sacred month of Ramadan. Now, here the Prophet he continues with the sermon regarding the importance of this sacred month of Ramadan, talks a lot. Inshallah, I'll send you the link for this khutbah. Listen to it so that we get a better picture of what exactly this sacred month is. The month of Ramadan, observances wise and worship wise, there is a lot, a lot. If you get time before the month arrives, just go through the index and the table of contents of Mafatihul Jinan or some whatever book of dua you follow and see the major chunk of this Mafatih is for the month of Ramadan. From the night of the first of Ramadan until the day of Eid, you've got so many du'as, you've got so many prayers, you've got so many tasbihat for the day, for the night, for the evening, past midnight, before sunrise, before Fajr. We've got so many du'as, and the entire month is embedded. Whatever you can take on board, take it, because everyone works differently. Some work during the day, some are night shifts, some are 9 to 5, some work from home. Just see whatever you can from that Mafatihul Jinan you can do it. One of the simple things that you can do is there is a 2 rakat prayer. You start reciting that from the night of the first. After your Maghribain, after having your iftar, it's just a 2 rakat prayer. That is, you recite one Surah Al-Hamd 3 times, Qul Hu Allah, and there is a 2-line dua. Inshallah, I'll send it to you. You can add that onto your daily program, and for that, immense reward and sawab has been mentioned by the Prophet, by the Imams, alayhimus salam. One of the important things that you need to observe is the pivot or the main emphasis, or that what we want to get to in the month of Ramadan is Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr. It is better than 1,000 months. So like when you work for your for whatever business you are doing, we do work so that we get to a higher rank, to a higher level, so that we achieve the next rank, the next level, better perks and better income. Everything is towards the betterment. Allah wa ta'ala says that in this month of Ramadan, I have placed a night Which night? We don't know. Either on the 19th or the 21st or the 23rd or the 27th. So Laylatul Qadr is hidden. We don't know which one it is. So that is for us to benefit and work such that we make the best of efforts to achieve the best of marks in all of them, so that we get the best of them. Allah says Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr is better than 1,000 months. 1,000 months means 84 years. So by just perceiving those few minutes of Laylatul Qadr, you can jump ahead in your life by 84 years. It's a big jump. Now, those of the Mu'mineen who work in the sacred month of Ramadan for their spiritual uplift, now after the sacred month, you feel that you are secure, you feel that you are charged. And then that charge that you got in the month of Ramadan, it will continue with you for a few months, depending on how we have charged ourselves in this month. Some people, until the following year, they can survive with the charge they got in the month of Ramadan. Some less, some more, depending on how their performance was in the sacred month. So we have to work so that we get something that we benefit from that forever. In this sacred month of Ramadan, there is another hadith from the Holy Prophet. He says that, now this is for those people who object and say that we don't know, as if we cannot fast, whether we will benefit, whether we will be rewarded, etc. He says that every night or every day of the sacred month of Ramadan comes with its own package. That is, whether you do anything in that day or night, or whether you don't, you will be blessed and rewarded by the Almighty for only perceiving and getting into that day or night of that sacred month of Ramadan. So, just benefiting from the nights and days of the month has its own reward. And that what Allah mentions in that beautiful hadith is that what He's going to give you. It's beyond our perception. We really cannot understand how much He gives, how much He bestows, how much He forgives, and how many ranks He makes us elevate in this sacred month of Ramadan. So it's a beautiful month, and the noble. Now, when we look into the seerah of the Imams, there was a special emphasis for the sacred month. Ulama Maraji Taqlid that we are proud of. Prior to the month of Ramadan, they make all the arrangements so that the workload, the office work is reduced, so that they can all occupy themselves in worship and benefit from this sacred month of Ramadan. Now, barakat is given in this month, and barakat that Allah says, it's immense. Jabir, one of the one of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that it was the month of Ramadan and in the days of the Battle of Khandaq, the Battle of the Trench. And all of these Muslim soldiers, they were fasting. I saw the Prophet, and Muslims in the early days of Islam, they were struggling. They were hand to mouth, and financially they were weak. It was later, after getting the strength in Medina, they got to riches and wealth, etc. But early days of Islam, they were suffering a lot. Jabir says that I saw the Prophet. He was hungry, and he had tied a stone onto his belly not to feel the hunger, just to protect himself. And then he comes and says to his wife that I want to invite Rasulullah and Amirul Mu'mineen for iftar tonight. She says, yes, we've got some barley at home, 3 kilograms I have. I'll make bread with that. And we've got a goat. You slaughter the goat. But before that, go and get his consent if he accepts this invite, and if he can come for iftar to our house. Rasulullah accepts, says, I and Ali will come, and with this army. The army is 700 people to 1,000 soldiers that are digging the trench. Now he comes and says to the wife, this is what the Prophet has said. He wants to come. Now we had the arrangement for 2 for two invites, and two of us, four altogether. And the Prophet has said 700 soldiers who are digging the trench, all of them will come with him. And Ali alayhi salam. The wife, she is a believer, a mu'mina, she loves and adores the Prophet, is obedient to him, likewise Jabir as well. And then she says, if the Prophet has accepted your invite, then there's nothing to worry. Arrangements also will be made. The Prophet comes and she had prepared that little bread and that stew. That goat was slaughtered and gives the bowl in which the stew and the bread was placed to the Prophet. The Prophet gives it to Amirul Mu'mineen. Amirul Mu'mineen gives it to and distributes it among the soldiers. Now, generally, when you go to a place and you see so many people are there, sometimes people they get a little worried whether or not this food is going to be sufficient, whether everyone will be fed, or some will go without eating. Here, all of those soldiers who had come into that little dwelling of Jabir, here the reporter says that Rasulullah, when he comes into the house, it was a small, humble dwelling. He points out at the walls, and all the walls they shifted back. And these 1,000 soldiers slowly they came in, they sat, and all of them ate and they went. And when they left, here Amirul Mu'mineen and Rasulullah sat as guests with Jabir and his wife, and they had their iftar. After the iftar, all of these soldiers they ate, they were full, they were happy, they went. Jabir says that the Prophet and Amirul Mu'mineen, when they left, we came and we saw the bread is still there as it was, and the food also that was prepared was still in the pot. And for many, many days, we ate that Mubarak food that was prepared for the Prophet and Amirul Mu'mineen and the soldiers of the Battle of Khandaq. That is barakat. How Allah, if He wishes, if He wants, He gives. So barakat Allah gives sometimes to someone's life, sometimes to someone's knowledge, sometimes to someone's books, sometimes to your house, your income, your money, etc. In Islam, barakah is given by the Almighty Allah for your sincerity, for your ikhlas, and for all that you do. Now, in this sacred month, he says that you just breathe. Anfasukum fihi tasbih. Your breathing will be counted as tasbih. And then one of the ahadith that we have here from the Holy Prophet, he says, "Man qala Subhanallah wa bihamdih." In this month, you just say, or if you just say Subhanallah wa bihamdih, not necessarily in the month of Ramadan. Subhanallah wa bihamdih means that glory belongs to Allah and all praise is His. Only for that one statement, Kataballah lahu alfa hasana. Allah writes for you 1,000,000 hasana. He removes 1,000,000 wrong that you did. He elevates you by 1,000,000 ranks. And وَمَنْ زَادَ زَادَ اللَّهُ. And if you will say more, Allah will increase that for you as well. And وَمَنْ اسْتَغْفَرَ غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَهُ. And then if you say Astaghfirullah, Allah forgives. So all these are the beautiful things that we have, that we can get a lot more in the sacred month of Ramadan. Because it is the season of Quran. And now when you recite Quran, you recite one ayah, you get the reward of one ayah. But the Prophet, he says that, and whatever the Prophet says is haqq, is true. In the month of Ramadan, when you recite one ayah, you say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. For that one ayah, the reward that will be registered in your amal is the recitation of one complete Quran. So the more you recite, that many Quran will be registered in your amal for the sacred month of Ramadan. Now, one of the other beautiful things that we learn in this sacred month of Ramadan is that having hope in the mercy and forgiveness of Allah wa ta'ala. Now, in most of these du'as, you see the statement says that Allahumma inna maghfirataka arja min amali. That is, God, your forgiveness is all the hope that I have. My actions, I have no hope in them. Now, whatever I do, end results, what they would be, I don't know. Whether they have been accepted, I don't know. Whether I have done it to the best of my ability and correct, I don't know. Whether my wuzu, the place I offered my prayers, the clothing that I was wearing, the attire, everything is unknown. As to whether ultimately Allah will accept or not, we don't know. Here, Hadith says that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in the Arsh, in the Arsh, He has a duplicate of yours. إن في العرش تمثالا لكل عبد. Every person, there is a duplicate of his in the Arsh. Arsh is the throne of the Almighty. So here, if I'm here in Vancouver in this form, there is a duplicate of mine in the throne and the Arsh of Allah Ta'ala. Here says, فَإِذَا اشْتَغَلَ الْعَبْدُ بِالْعِبَادَةِ. When the servant, he occupies himself in worship. My duplicate there in Arsh, he also occupies in worship. So it's like the CCTV that is being relayed over there of what is being done here in this world. Now says that when this relay of this servant worshipping is shown in the arsh and the throne, there the angels, they look at that person, they are happy, they pray for him, they laud him, they praise him. And God forbid, if this servant, he sins or does something indecent, what Allah does, He instructs some of the angels to cover up and so that no one sees. The angels in Arsh, they do not see the wrong that this servant is doing in this earth. Just like sometimes what we do is that if the TV is being shown and an indecent picture comes up, we quickly change the channel or we switch it off, turn it off. Just like that, Allah instructs the angels to cover up what is being done bad by that servant in dunya. Here, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam, that is the beauty of the Almighty. He does not want us to be defamed or shamed, even in His most precious and His most glorious zone, and that is the Arsh. Here says that the Prophet says this is the meaning of Ya man azhar al jamil was satar al qabih. That is, he who magnifies the beauty and who covers the flaws and the faults. Now, all these are the beautiful statements that we get to learn, and especially in the sacred month of Ramadan. One of the du'as that all of us we know, just keep repeating that a lot, is Rabbi zidni ilma, that Allah increase in my knowledge, in my understanding, in my ma'rifah regarding deen. That Allah wa ta'ala, He says that get that thing granted and you will be taught and educated when you want something sincerely from the Almighty. One of the other things that you get to learn in this month is it's the month of dua. And dua, it just puts away every misfortune that is about to come to you. There are loads of riwayat you must have heard, and there are ayat in Quran. One of the statements from Amir al-Mu'mineen says that you should have so much dua in your life that because these balas and all these tests and trials, all these misfortunes, they are hanging on your head and they are moving towards you like waves. Now, when you stand by the seashore, some waves, they are so ferocious and so fierce, they come with full force. Some waves are gentle, but you see that these waves are constantly coming towards the shore. Amir al-Mu'mineen says that balas, misfortunes, tests and trials, they are constantly in motion towards you. They are constantly coming towards you. And you also have to keep on pushing them away, driving them away. And how do you do that? ادفعوا أمواج البلاء عنكم بالدعاء. By dua. With dua, you can just push all of these misfortunes and tests and trials away from you. And it is the month of dua. It, if you don't want to recite books or Arabic du'as, doesn't matter. The best dua is your own words being your own words communicating with the creator. That is what Allah loves. He wants you to talk to him. He wants you to speak to him. Now, the other reward that we get for this sacred month of Ramadan says that kullu amali ibn Adam huwa lahu. Whatever you do is for yourself. If it's prayers, it's for you. And then you will be there's a set reward mentioned over there. If it's charity that you give, it's for you. There is a set reward for the charity that you will get. The Almighty says, but exception over here is Saum, fasting. Huwa, fasting is for me. Wa ana ajzibe, and it is upon me how I will reward my servant for fasting. Or elsewhere in another quote says, Wa ana jaza'uhu, that I am the reward of him who fasts. Now,
Craig, I think you're muted there.
मौलाना साहब आप म्यूट हो गए हैं. You have to unmute yourself.
जी, okay. Fasting, yeah, fasting, it's for me, and Allah says, and I will reward you for the fasts that I will be, that my servant he will be observing. Now, dua, it's the month of dua, and so whatever you want, you can ask the Almighty Allah for one of the other things that Rasulullah he emphasized a lot for this sacred month was reciting Quran. So recite Quran as much as you can. And as it was mentioned earlier, that you hold the book, because Hadith says so, that ليس شيء أشد على الشيطان من قراءة في المصحف نظرا. That is, there is nothing more severe upon Iblis, and that is when you recite Quran from the book, looking at the book, not from hifz and memory. No, looking at the book. That is the emphasis over here. And elsewhere says that man allama waladahu al-Quran, that someone who teaches his children to recite Quran. Now the reward says فَكَأَنَّمَا حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ عَشْرَةَ أَلْفْ حَجَّةٍ. So someone who teaches his children to recite Quran is like performing 10,000 Hajj, like performing 10,000 Umrah, like freeing 10,000 slaves, not an ordinary slave, those high quality slaves from the descendants of Prophet Ismail alayhi salam, and is like someone who has participated in 10,000 battles and someone who has fed 10,000 miskeen, etc., etc., etc. And it's a beautiful hadith from the Holy Prophet, only for educating and teaching Quran and reciting Quran. Now, everything has a season, and the season is the season of Quran. Now, one of the other things that Rasulullah emphasized for this sacred month is that you have to give sadaqah, charity. Now, those who were present in the sermon, some of them said that, Ya Rasulullah, but we are not well off. We are poor. We can't afford to give so much of iftar and sadaqah in this sacred month. Rasulullah, he says that walau bishiq tamratin, at least a piece of date or a slice of date or half of a date on khajur, khurma, you give as iftar, that is also sadaqah. And then he says that fear the fire of hell, at least with a sip of water. With that little sip of water, you can ease yourself, free yourself, and all that burden of wrong and sins that we are carrying, get that be removed by sadaqah, by charity in the sacred month of Ramadan. Now, one of the one of the other things that Rasulullah he emphasizes over here, that some of the mics they need to be muted. Yeah, one of the other things that Rasulullah he emphasizes over here is that sadaqah you have to give, because sadaqah, it drives away bala, it drives away. Now, during the time of Bani Israel, there was a drought and people were all suffering, and they had no bread to eat. One of the ladies over there, she had some bread with her, and she saw that so many other people, they are in need of bread. She has some. What she does is that the bread that she had, although she was in need herself, she gave it to others who were in need. Now, after a while, when everything was settled, and she was in the wood collecting firewood with her baby, she leaves the baby on the ground, goes to collect some firewood, and a wolf comes and grabs the baby and was running away. She also is chasing the wolf to free the child, free the baby from the wolf's mouth. All of a sudden, the wolf, he stops and then comes and returns the baby to the mother. What happens over here is that Allah, He instructs Jibreel alayhi salam to go and stop the wolf and instruct the wolf to return the baby to the mother. فبعث الله تبارك وتعالى جبرائيل عليه السلام فأخرج الغلام من فم الذئب, and then takes the baby out of the mouth of the wolf and gives it to the mother. Jibreel gives the baby to the mother and says to the lady, Ya Amat Allah, O servant of Allah, Araditi, are you happy now that your baby is safe? And Jibreel says, Luqmatun biluqmatin. You helped someone then when they were in need, and you fed them with that little luqma, or that morsel of bread. Now your baby has been saved for the good that you did then. So whatever we do in this sacred month of Ramadan, it's highly rewarded. Plus, whatever we do in this month, we get to learn, and then we get to keep it with us, and that's going to last us forever and ever. Now, this was a little bit a very quick and a fast uh, talk about the greatness, the virtues, the fadila of the sacred month of Ramadan. Now, we'll come to the ahkam and the rules that we have for this sacred month. First of all, for these ahkam and these actions to be accepted by the Almighty Allah wa ta'ala, we have to be in taqleed of a mujtahid. Either you be a mujtahid yourself. If you are not a mujtahid, then you have to be in taqleed of a mujtahid. Whoever that mujtahid is, may Allah protect them all. Now, generally, in this day and age, majority of the mu'mineen, they are either in taqleed of Imam Khamenei or Ayatollah al-Uzma Sistani. So mu'mineen over here, I think, also are, or maybe some of them in taqleed of Ayatollah al-Uzma Khui rahmatullahi alayh. So first things first, you have to be in taqleed of a mujtahid if you want your actions to be accepted and to be correct. Now that is the rule, not only for fasting, for every amal, for every action, for prayers, for fast, for hajj, for zakat, for khums, every action of yours will be correct and acceptable only if there is taqleed involved. Without taqleed, actions will be accepted only if they were in accordance to the ruling of the leading mujtahid of that time. Now, month of Ramadan, from the first, you have to fast. And fasting requires some etiquettes. First of all, it is the niyyah. You have to have that niyyah, qurbatan ilallah. Now, fasts also, we've got some fasts that are wajib, some fasts that are haram, some fasts that are makruh, some fasts that are mustahab. Fasts that are wajib, like the month of Ramadan, or you made something wajib on yourself, that is, you imposed upon yourself a fast like vow. You said that if I pass this grade, or if I get to that rank, I will fast for 2 days, for 3 days, for 1 day, for 10 days. If you vowed and you obligated a fast upon yourself, then you have to fast. That becomes wajib. So that is one. Fasts that are haram. There are two fasts that are haram. One, on the day of Eid al-Fitr, you cannot fast. It is haram to fast. Fast on the day of Eid al-Adha, that is the 10th of Zul Hijjah after Hajj. The 10th of Zul Hijjah, fasting is haram. Some fasts are makruh, like fasting on the day of Ashura. It is highly not recommended to fast on that day. It is the day when Bani Umayyah, la'natullah alayh, they made that fast mustahab and wajib, and for barakah they fast. Even today it's the same trend, but it's highly makruh to fast on the day of Ashura. Some fasts are mustahab, like fasting in the month of Sha'ban, fasting on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, in the month of Rajab, in the month of Dhul Hijjah, etc. So all those special days and nights that we have, fasting on those days, it is mustahab. Fasting in the month of Ramadan is wajib. So first things first, now when you witness the sacred month of Ramadan, the first thing is that you have to have an intention that I will be fasting this sacred month qurbatan ilallah. So you can have a niyyah every day before when you are having your sahari in the morning, before the day starts, you can have that niyyah, or you can have one niyyah for the entire month. On the night of the first, you intend that God, thank you for giving me the blessing of life and the opportunity to fast, and I will be observing all the 30 days of fasts of the sacred month, qurbatan ilallah. So that will be one intention for the month, or a daily intention every day. Whichever is easier for you, whichever you like, it's up to you. So niyyah is required. The other thing is that for the sacred month of Ramadan, there are certain things that shouldn't be done. Eating and drinking. So, you know the time of your Fajr and your Maghrib. So, from the time of Fajr until Maghrib, not sunset, not Ghurub. So, it is for those of you, if you don't have a calendar, you're living in a place you don't know when Maghrib is. Now, you can have this calculation, you can get the sunset time of your location and then add 21 minutes to your sunset time. That will be your Maghrib, 21 to 23 minutes. That will be your Maghrib time. Uh, to add 21 to 23 minutes to your sunset time wherever you are on the surface of this planet Earth. For your Fajr, you have to work, and then you have to find out what the Fajr time is. So for you Mu'mineen in Winnipeg, the timetable you have, that is accurate, and then there's no ihtiyat required over there. There is no imsak required because the time is accurate enough, so you can stop eating and you can start eating exactly on the time that has been given out to you. So that is certified, alhamdulillah, by the officers of the Maraja. So you stop eating at Fajr, and then you can start eating at Maghrib. Now, between this time, that is from Fajr until Maghrib, certain things cannot be done. Eating and drinking. Nothing can be eaten, nothing can be now intentionally. If someone eats something or drinks something by mistake, then just spit it out, wash your mouth, and you are fine. If you drank something, a sip of water, and it was unknown, you did not know that you are fasting, or by mistake, uh, so that also doesn't count, and you are fine with that. Any kind of sexual activity, intercourse, that is not allowed in the sacred month of Ramadan. So if anyone does any one of these 9 and 10 things that will be mentioned now, that will invalidate the fast, and also there is a compound kafara that applies on that person. A compound kafara means that if someone intentionally does not fast, or intentionally eats or drinks, or breaks his fast with haram, with God forbid alcohol or liquor, this there a compound kafara applies. Compound kafara means that he has to fast for 60 days and then feed 60 people, and then he has to make up a one fast for missing that day. And the kafara for missing these for observing those 60 days also is such severe that the Almighty says that you have to fast 31 days all in a row without any break. And then the 29 days you can do at your own leisure whenever you want in your life. Now, from these 31 days of fasting, the penalty, the compound kafara, if someone fasted for 29 days, fasted for 30 days, and for whatever reason he could not do it on the 31st day, he has to start all over again. That is that compound kafara that applies. Now, monetary wise, now these 60 fasts plus one fast plus $200, that $200 is for feeding 60 people. So if you even if you take just basic $3 per meal for someone in need, multiply that by 60, it's going to be about $180, roughly 180 to $200 plus 60 fasts plus one fast. So that is the kafara for tampering every single fast for not fasting on the day on the month of Ramadan, in the month of Ramadan. Any kind of sexual activity not allowed. And one of the other major sins that we have is anything that would result in self abuse or seminal discharge or ejaculation whilst a person is fasting. That is also haram, a major sin, and that compound kafara applies. Anyways, whether a person is fasting or not, it is haram, it is not allowed. And the term used in Arabic on Farsi, it's istimna or masturbation, as they say. Now, one of the other muharramat that we have for this sacred month of Ramadan is ascribing anything false, a statement that is false to the Almighty Allah, to the Prophet, or the Imams, alayhimus salam. That is, I am fasting in the month and I come and say that it is mentioned in Quran, something that is mentioned in Quran which is a lie. It is not mentioned in Quran. If I say something that is in Quran and it is not in Quran and I am fasting, that will make my fast batil, and that compound kafara also will apply on me. Likewise, if I come and say or recite a hadith which is not from the Prophet, which is not from the Imams alayhimus salam, or if I debate something which is false, which is a lie, that will also make my fast batil, and also a compound kafara will apply. Now, all this is for, counted as intentional breaking, tampering, and destroying the fast. One of the other muharramat that we have and we have to abstain from is swallowing thick dust. You go to a place where there is a lot of dust. For example, if you go to Home Depot and you want to have some timber cut and that filter is not working and that dust is there, and the dust gets into you when you breathe in. If it's thick dust, sawdust, or even sandstorms, anything like that, and that gets into your throat, the middle of your throat, from where the letter kha is being pronounced, that will make the fast also batil. So, any place there is a lot of dust, either you don't go. If you're going there, go with a mask or some kind of a covering that sawdust or that thick dust, doesn't get into you. Now, one of the other muharramat that we have, or things that will make our fast batil, is ditching or immersing your head completely underwater. In the month of Ramadan, you can go swimming, you can go to the beaches, that's all fine. But ditching your head, submerging your head totally underwater, that will invalidate your fast. Now, ditching your head underwater meaning that both of the ears, they go underwater, they submerge. That will make the fast batil. Now, if someone went swimming and then he ditched his head or submerged his head in a way that one ear was in the water, 1 year was out, that fast is valid and there's nothing to worry, and he can do that. Now, if someone pushes you in the pool and then you got under the water, that fast is still valid because it wasn't done intentionally. So, swallowing thick dust or being thrown in the water or submerging both of the ears intentionally underwater, that will make the fast batil. One of the other other things that would invalidate my fast is to remain in the state of janaba, haze, or nifas until the azan of Fajr prayers. Now, if ghusl becomes wajib on someone in the nights of the sacred month of Ramadan, it is wajib. Now, for the fast, just like ihram, when you want to get into the city of Mecca, you have to be in the state of ihram. You cannot enter Mecca without ihram. Just like that, the month of Ramadan, you cannot start your fast without tahara. If ghusl janaba or ghusl haze or the nifas is wajib upon a lady, there she has to perform her ghusl before Fajr prayers. Only then will that fast be correct. If he or she intentionally they delay the performing of that ghusl until after Fajr, that fast is also batil and that kafara also applies. So here sometimes they say that we are shy, we don't want to go, and people will say this, that, and the other. La haya fiddin. Over here, that shyness doesn't count. When it comes to the rule of the Almighty Allah, priority has to be given to the command of the Almighty, and you have to perform ghusl. If, for whatever reason, a person wakes up and the time is so short that they cannot perform that wajib ghusl, then what they do is that they perform a tayammum. Tayammum to start the fast. So they perform the tayammum and then they start the fast. Fast is okay. But for the prayers, you have to perform the ghusl and then you say your prayers. But if the time was so short, you woke up late and there wasn't any time for ghusl, the tayammum will be there, but there's enough time for prayers. There's an hour and a half left, and that can be done with ghusl. So that is, again, remaining in the state of janaba will also invalidate the fast. One of the other invalidators of fast is enema with liquids. That is performing enema through the back passage for whatever kind of a medication. If that is done whilst a person is fasting, it will invalidate the fast. Just like vomiting. If someone throws up or vomits during the month of Ramadan intentionally, that will invalidate his fast. Enema also, if it is done whilst a person is fasting, that will also invalidate the fast. So these are some of the ahkam that we have in the month of Ramadan. Now, one of the other more important masail that are sometimes not observed, or due to negligence they are observed other way, because I get a lot of phone calls and I've seen many, and for example, the ayah, it mentioned that if someone is traveling, for him fasting is haram. Just like someone who is sick, for him fasting is haram. So if fasting is haram on a traveler, and I want to travel today in the month of Ramadan, so does it mean that I can have a big heavy breakfast in the morning, and then because I'm not fasting and I'm traveling today? That is not allowed. A traveler will not be a traveler until his journey has started. So if my flight is 11 o'clock in the morning, and then I have a breakfast at 8 and I leave home, a compound kafara applies on me. So although I'm traveling today, so the rule is I will remain fasting, and when I'm out of the city limits by 25 kilometers, there I will break my fast. If I break my fast before leaving the city limits, that kafara applies and it is a major sin. So you can travel in the month of Ramadan for whatever reason, for work purposes, you can travel, even if you don't want to, you want to travel only to not fast, you can do that as well, although it's makruh. You can do it just for not fasting. You got tired of 20 days of fasting, now you don't want to fast. Okay, you can travel, leave the city, go 25 kilometers out of the city limits, and then you can break your fast and come back home and have your meals. So, if someone intends to travel in the month of Ramadan, he has to be classified as a traveler, and that has to be before Zohr. If he is traveling after Zohr, he has to fast on that day. So, if you want to maintain your fast and also travel, so have your journeys lined up after Zohr, or that you have your journey planned in a way that you get to your destination before Zohr. So either your check-in time to your destination has to be before Zohr, or your checkout time from your origin has to be after Zohr if you want to save your fast. Now, if you want to not save your fast, then you can travel before Zohr, leave the city, break your fast, and then do whatever you want in that month of Ramadan. One of the other masail is that now most of the mu'mineen, they are either in taqleed of Ayatollah Khamenei or Ayatollah Sistani. The ruling of both of these great maraji regarding traveler is the same. That is, a person who is kathirus safar. Kathirus safar means whose job is in working. Shughluhu fis safar. That is, his work is in traveling. But according to the ruling of Imam Khomeini, he says shughluhu safar. That is, his work is traveling. Like, for example, these air hostesses, like pilots, like sailors, like drivers who are, so for them, because they are always traveling, Imam Khomeini's opinion is that they cannot, they have to fast because their work is to travel. But if it is Ayatollah Khamenei's muqallid, Ayatollah Sistani's muqallid, he says that although a person, he may not be a sailor or a pilot or an air hostess, for example, but they travel so frequently. Like, for example, a student, he is studying in the university, and 2, 3 times in a month he has to travel back and forth to another city. Or someone who is working in Winnipeg, for example, and then he has to travel 3, 4 times in a month to different destinations, leave Winnipeg and then come back. So here, Ayatollah Sistani and Ayatollah Khamenei, both of them are of the opinion that he is Kathirus Safar. So if he is Kathirus Safar, he fasts whilst he's traveling and he fasts whilst he's at home. That also is the definition of Kathirus Safar, someone who travels a lot. So according to Ayatollah Khamenei and Sistani, if he is traveling for more than 3 times in a month, or once in 10 days he is traveling, he will be classified as Kathirus Safar. Now, one of the other rules that you ought to know is that you can have Watan. Watan means your hometown. You can have multiple hometowns. You can have the hometown where you were born and raised as your first hometown, as your first Watan. And then you can have this Winnipeg, for example, or Vancouver here as the second Watan where you intend to stay. And people who are living around you, they say that, yeah, he lives here. And the ruling is that 5, 6 months of a year you stay in that place, 5, 6 months of the year you stay in the other place. Or general mindset of people when they see you, they say that, yeah, he is a resident of, for example, here Tampa. He is a resident of Winnipeg. So both of these cities, they are far apart, but there is a livelihood, a family that is attached over there, and his frequenting and his coming and going to that place, and him staying at another destination also, all of that, both of them will be classified as his watan. And when he is here, he has to fast even if he is less than 10 days. Or if he goes to the other spot also and stays there for less than 10 days, he still has to fast because both of them are his hometowns. Now, one of the other rulings that we have here for traveling is that if you are traveling to a place, that place you intend to stay there for less than 10 days in the sacred month of Ramadan, you cannot fast. It is haram on you to fast. And your prayers also will be qasr. You'll have to do your zuhr, your asr, and your isha prayers as qasr. That is the ruling. Now, if someone says that no, I want to do a lot more, you are going against the teachings of Allah. Allah has said, a traveler does not fast, forbidden to fast. A traveler doesn't offer his prayers in full, so he has to do it as qasr. So if you intend to stay at your destination less than 10 days, now how do you count the 10 days? I arrived my destination on the 1st of April at 12 p.m. Now, on the 10th of April, if I am leaving my destination at 10 a.m., it is not 10 days complete. So if I leave on the 10th of April at 2 p.m., it's 10 days. So that 10-day has to be complete 24 hours cycle until the departure of mine from my destination. So if I intend to stay there for less than 10 days, no fasting. If I intend to stay there for 10 days or more, I have to fast. If I intended to stay at my destination for 10 days, but I had to leave the second day, I still have to pray my prayers in full and then I leave that place. If I intended to stay there for less than 10 days and I started saying my prayers as qasr, but then it's uncertain. I may leave on the 11th, I may leave on the 12th. Over here, I just continue to say my prayers as qasr, and I will not be fasting until day 30. On the day 30th day and beyond that, I have to say my prayers in full and I have to fast. This was the entire the ahkam that we have for the sacred month of Ramadan as to how you should be observing them. Now, one of the other ahkam that we have, it is for those who are ill and ailing, or those who are elderly, those who are pregnant, those who are breastfeeding. For them, the ruling is they do not fast. Now, ladies who are pregnant, if it is harmful for them or the baby, they will not fast. If by fasting the lady who is feeding the child, it's going to be harmful to the child, or the milk for whatever reason is shortened and lessened for the baby, there she doesn't fast. She will pay a $3 as fidya, and then the fast will be waived for her. And the same thing applies for the old and elderly, and or for those who are ill, they will pay that $3 as fidya and not fast. Now, those like the pregnant lady and the nursing moms, for them the rule is after the duration of pregnancy and nursing has ended, then they will do the qaza later when they can. For those who are got these terminal illnesses or elderly who cannot fast, for them it's waived. There's no qaza as any qaza, no fasts to be observed. This was the whole month of Ramadan, very briefly regarding the fada'il and also the ahkam. And if you have any questions, Bismillah. Yeah, one more masala, just let me tell you, and that is this is also asked a lot whether we can use vaccines and injections, IVs, etc. Um, Vaccines, you are allowed to, injections, you are allowed to, but any kind of an IV or an injection that is going to be nutritious for you, that is forbidden, that is not allowed. Eye drops, ear drops, nasal drops, all these drops, you can use them, but if they are getting into your throat, the middle part of your throat, that will make and invalidate the fast. Using these asthma sprays, that according to the ruling of both Ayatollah Sistani and Khamenei, they are permitted, because they say that first of all it is medication, and secondly it is not in a liquid form, it is in a uh, it is not in a liquid form, so and nor a solid form, so it is okay. Now, pulling your teeth or going to the dentist, all of that is okay as long as what you call and the medicine or the waters or the blood, it doesn't get into your throat. Using toothbrushes is allowed. You can brush your teeth. You can use mouth fresheners, but be careful it doesn't get into your throat. So all of these things, they are allowed uh, in the sacred month of Ramadan. Using any kind of suppositories on basis of precaution, you shouldn't be they shouldn't be used. Yeah. Now, Bismillah. Any questions? Alaikum salam. Yeah. Mm, no, it's not your home, and because you've been living there and now you've abandoned Toronto as your hometown, so it's not your hometown anymore. So brother's watan is not counted as your watan. Yeah, 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 yeah. Fidya, the ruling that we have for fidya, it's a little bit technical and also a little bit not so easy. So the best thing is that if you have access to the offices of the Maraje, just give it to them and they know how to dispose it, how to it has to be spent. Because when I send a fidya of someone for the entire 30 days of the month of Ramadan, so it's $90. So the ruling over here says that you can't give that $90 to one person. It has to be multiple people. Now, finding multiple people is not an easy task. So when you send it to your mujtahid, they've got their own sources, they've got their own ways how it can be distributed. So that is the safest option. So just giving money to someone, it will not remove that obligation from you. So here you have to be careful. It's not like any other sadaqah that you give it to someone as charity and then you are easy. No, this one, it's a different way how it is handled, fidya. Now, the second question regarding Quran, Quran has to be recited in Arabic. If you cannot and you want to get benefit by reciting the English translation, that's good. That is, it's good. But that what has to be recited is Arabic. Yeah, for boys, it is 15 years of the lunar calendar. So according to the solar calendar, it's 14 years. So when he is 14 years complete, he is counted as baligh, and 14 and a half years, 14 years to 3 months complete means he is baligh according to the lunar calendar. So you can say his 14th birthday will be his year of bulugh. Likewise, girls, it's 9 years complete. But if the girl that is from the lunar calendar, when you shift it to the solar calendar, it's 8.5 years. Yeah, that is also a wrong mas'ala, which is in the mindsets of especially the Urdu speaking community. So that is a wrong mas'ala. So fitra that you give on the night of Eid, it's like the insurance premium you pay for your health. So if you have an insurance policy, so you just have one insurance policy and the premium you pay to that one company. That is why if you want to claim something from the insurers, the first thing they ask is that, is there any other policy in place? So if there is any other policy, they don't handle it. The same way, this fitra is also an insurance premium that you pay once in a year for one person. It's one premium. You pay it or someone else pays it for you, only one. But if you are working and you are now the confusion that has come up, it's from the most of these risalas, those masail that have been translated from Farsi to Urdu. The term used in the olden Farsi was, that is, someone who is a non-khor. Non-khor means a dependent. They translated non-khor as someone who eats bread in the house of someone on the night of Eid. So if I came to your house on the night of Eid al-Fitr and I ate something at your house, there they understood that my fitra has to be paid by you where I ate bread in your place. No, that is wrong. Non-khur means dependent. That if I was your dependent, then you pay my fitra. If you go to your brother's house on the night of Eid, you pay your own fitra, or you tell him that I'm paying my fitra, he doesn't need to worry. Now, with this mindset of fitra being paid by the host, now people, they run away and they don't go to anyone's house on the night of Eid. And so that is against the teachings. On the day of Eid, we say that Yawman Ja'altahu lil Muslimina Eida. It is the day when you, the Almighty, has made it an Eid for everyone. So if it is an Eid for everyone, then why is everyone running away from one another just to avoid that fitra? Doesn't make sense. So fitra, your fitra is yours unless you are a dependent on someone else. If the father has his children who are dependent upon him, he pays for his wife, for his children, for all those who are under his care and support. He pays their fitra. If, if someone is if someone is not your dependent, then you don't pay his fitra. Clear? Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. What's the next one? Hello? Any other question?
No, I think I was just gonna give a last call if anybody else has questions. By the way, you can ask Maulana in English, Urdu, or Farsi. Not a problem at all. And if that is it, I would like to once again take this opportunity to thank Maulana Sahib for joining us, making time. And inshallah, I'm hoping we'll have a couple more sessions in the next during the month of Ramadan, hopefully. Later during the night, email will be sent out with the Ramadan program soon. And if anybody else can think of anything later, if they have questions, Maulana's okay, I'll share his contact.
I just have one request to Maulana Sahab and Imran Bhai.
if possible, अभी like there is not much time, मतलब या बहुत कम आपको notice period है, but we would love to have your lectures on Quran in Ramadan if possible. अगर आप कहीं और कर रहे हो तो kindly share your link.
जी इंशाल्लाह ज़रूर।
Thank you, Kamran Bhai. I think with that, we'll conclude the program. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. And inshallah, we hope to continue and have a couple more sessions within the next month and a half.
Yeah, thank you very much. Iltimas dua. Thanks for watching. Share, like, and subscribe.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I think there's a question from Sister Abir. If you wanted to go ahead, please. Okay, that's fine. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Iltimas dua. Khuda Hafiz.
Bye.
No.